Chapter 13. Planet Pleasant. I'd been hearing about this secret and horrifying phatic research facility for a while now. It was where they sent beings who wouldn't get with the program so they could be galactic guinea pigs in scientific experiments. It was where beings were tortured and sacrificed to the phatic war machine. I felt myself gripping the side of the table. I needed to be out of that room and on a ship headed for Planet Pleasant now. An hour ago. I couldn't stand the thought of my friends being there. Of Tamret being subject to their experiments. Again. Why are they there? I asked. My voice sounded raspy, almost broken. What's going to happen to them?
I suspect the Fads wish to understand how you could have maximized the former tech tree, Convex Icosahedron said. It only makes sense that they would bring your friends to their premier research facility to understand how this goal was achieved.
I've got to go get them out of there, I said.
Hold on, son, Colonel Rage said. It's commendable that you want to help them, but I don't see how a suicide mission gets the job done. We're talking about a top-secret military research facility. What makes you think you would be able to successfully exfiltrate them?
I don't know, but I have to try.
You are on the cusp of becoming a victim to your own success, the Colonel said. Just because you've made it this far doesn't mean you can succeed at whatever you want.
Then let's figure out a way, I said, because I'm not leaving my friends there to be experimented on. I am going to get them out, and then we're going to get Glee-Wixix. We're going to defeat the Fads without blowing up Confederation Central. That's the deal. They all stared at me, no doubt wondering who this kid was giving them orders. I wondered the same thing. I also wondered what I could possibly be thinking. Getting everyone out of the phatic research facility was even crazier than breaking into a phatic prison. I had no special skills, no amazing team to back me up. I had, in short, no reason to think I wouldn't be killed or captured within seconds of arriving on the high-security research facility, assuming whatever ship I arrived on wasn't destroyed before I got close. I realized that Colonel Rage was right. I was so used to succeeding with my wild stunts, I had lost all perspective. I couldn't do whatever I wanted just because I wanted it. With my previous success, I'd had a ton of help. Tamret, Smelly, and most recently the military tech tree. The feeling of being invulnerable wouldn't fade away, but the actual invulnerability was long gone now. It was time to stop telling these beings what to do. They were actual freedom fighters who had put together a base, a plan, and who had real knowledge of the enemy they faced. I would do what they wanted and follow their lead, unless that lead involved leaving everyone on Planet Pleasant and destroying Confederation Central. In that case, I'd do whatever I could to sabotage them. Realizing that I was, once again, making big plans I couldn't follow through on, I sat still, uncomfortable and miserable. I used to try and be a well-behaved kid. I liked following the rules and flying under the radar. I'd always wondered at kids who seemed to want to get into trouble, but now I'd become just like them. I would have been perfectly content to sit back and let these beings make their decisions, to listen to those with more knowledge and experience, but every time I told myself to quit making trouble, I thought of my friends in that phatic facility. I thought of Tamret. Look, I said, I'm sorry I keep making demands. You obviously know your stuff. Though destroying Confederation Central makes no sense. Otherwise, though, I'm sure you're on top of things. I just want to help my friends. I want to get them away from Planet Pleasant, but I have no idea how to do that.
This is war, son, Colonel Rage said gently. I understand that you want to save the people that matter to you, but what counts is the mission, not the people who carry it out. In this case, any attempt to rescue your friends would end in disaster.
Actually, said Convex Icosahedron, I'm not quite sure that is true.
I couldn't say for sure because his booming voice didn't come with a whole lot of inflection, but he seemed to find the exchange amusing. Maybe it was just how he was holding his big game piece head slightly to one side, the colors shifting across its surface in undulating waves that somehow reminded me of laughter. He bounced on his heels and wiggled his gloved fingers.
There are certain design exploits in the facility at Planet Pleasant that we have known about for some time, but we lacked the operatives who were able and willing to make use of them, or targets of sufficiently high value to make it worth our while.
Of course,
said Ajul-Ip, suddenly quite animated.
His youth will confuse their senses.
What does that mean?
Colonel Rage demanded.
In Phatic culture, a being is not considered to be, well, an actual being, until it becomes an adult.
Ajul-Ip explained.
Their sensors are calibrated with this bias in mind. It makes it much easier for adolescents to infiltrate even a high-security facility like Planet Pleasant.
I knew about the Fad's disregard for young people, but I'd had no idea that this bias could become a strategic advantage. Wait a minute, I said, suddenly realizing something. Does that mean the only reason we got away with rescuing my father and stealing those ships was because we're kids?
As I understand it,
said Ajul-Ip,
you performed intelligently and with great courage during that mission. You managed to avoid detection entirely. Had you made some strategic errors, however, it is likely that they would have been less costly for you than they would have been for adults.
I believe we can take advantage of this weakness and get you to the planet's surface undetected,
Convex Icosahedron said.
But from that point, it will be up to you. You must find your friends, rescue them, and make your way to the prison to free Glee-Wixix. Because of the nature of this operation, we will have to maintain radio silence, which means we will not be able to coordinate with you. You will be entirely on your own.
Let's slow down, I said. Even though I didn't want them to slow down at all, I wanted him to speed up. I wanted to know everything, and I wanted to know it at once. Unfortunately, it didn't work that way, and I knew I had to hear more about this plan because these guys could very easily have something entirely impractical in mind. What do I do once I'm there? How do I get them out?
We will review with you the intelligence we have on Planet Pleasant, though it is limited,
Convex Icosahedron said.
Once you are on location, you will have to improvise and you will have to find your own transport. Unfortunately, with our tight timeline, we can't help you any further than that.
What timeline do you mean?
If you cannot succeed within 10 standard days, we will have to proceed with the original plan, he said.
The original plan was to destroy Confederation Central. They were asking me to do the impossible, to save my friends and then rescue the prisoners. If I couldn't do it, if I couldn't do this undoable thing, millions of beings were going to die. I was about to tell them they needed to come up with another plan, but I realized what it was that I would be walking away from. Alice could still be unconscious for all I knew, slowly dying from whatever Ardov had done to her. I needed to show Mi-Sun that she could count on me, and that I would get her back to her family. And I couldn't leave Steve and Charles and Dr. Roop to whatever cruel experiments and tortures the Fads had devised for them. Most of all, I thought about Tamret, how she planned to go back to Rarl with Volonic. If I could rescue her, if I could show her that even without upgrades and former powers I could still look after her, maybe she would change her mind. That was selfish, and I knew it, so in my own defense I'll say I was also thinking about how much I couldn't stand for her to be subject to the Fads and their experiments. Even if I knew I had no chance of impressing her or changing her mind, I still would risk anything to save her. That was the reality, though. I had no reason to think I could succeed where someone else, anyone else, might fail. I wasn't Zeke the hero anymore. I was just an ordinary kid who was neck-deep in trouble. I was about to speak, to say something to buy myself more time, when something flashed before my eyes. It was just an instant, a bit of static, and then it was gone, but I knew what it was. My HUD. It had, for the merest instant, flickered into existence with a little bit of static, a few readouts of scrolling data. It was there, and then it was gone, but maybe it was coming back. Maybe it would return with all those upgraded abilities. And if it did, nothing at Planet Pleasant would slow me down. "I'm in," I said, forcing out the words before I could change my mind. "If there's a chance, I'll take it."
Good,
said Convex Icosahedron as he rose from his chair. His silvery tunic shimmered excitedly in the room's light.
I will let Adul Ip brief you on what we know about Planet Pleasant. The two of you need to be prepared to leave in 6 hours. Every moment counts.
I looked at Adul Ip. All this time, I'd presumed he was an adult. Had I got that wrong? I thought only children could go on this mission.
Not Adul Ip,
said Convex Icosahedron.
Velonic, he goes with you.
I think it would be better, I began, but Convex Icosahedron shook his massive, inexplicable head.
That is how it must be, Zeke Reynolds. Velonic goes with you, or I must cancel the mission.
Once more, said Velonic quite happily, we shall be buddies.